Freedom is very fragile. It's more fragile when we don't know the truth. You're about to be part of FramersView, where truth is the foundation of every day's program. Join us live every weekday right here on Rumble at 1 p.m. Eastern. Now, here's Neil Frame on FramersView.
Welcome to FramersView. It is Wednesday. We got 3 days before the great celebration of 250. And I'm excited. I don't know about you, but this is a big deal. I remember when the founders and I were putting no, wait a minute, that wasn't me. No, that was just a company I did. I forget that. Sorry. I get a little wrapped up. Welcome to the show. Hey, like I said, 3 days away. I'm fascinated. I spent some time yesterday taking a look at the people on CNN covering 250 in Washington, D.C., and Fox News and Newsmax. They just cannot stand it. It's hate. But first, before I even get into the show itself, the meat, what happened yesterday, we had a good and a bad. The bad was this birthright thing. I don't know how anybody could go, yeah, that makes sense, because what the people who voted for keeping birthright as it is, they're using the Constitution, but they're not. And it's if you look at what they're following, it's the United Kingdom's version, which we were separating from to become the United States, to be able to create this thing called 13 colonies and then their United States of America, 50 of them. Unless you talk to Obama, then it's 57, but I won't get into that. I don't know. What can I tell you? So the birthright thing, I did my friendly friend Grok, and I asked about, was it 6-3 or 5-4? Because I was listening to a podcast, I think it was this morning, and I was listening to the podcast and I was paying attention to what the guy that was on the program said, and he says, well, it was really 5-4. And I went, what? So I asked, what was the vote on birthright? And the answer was 5 justices, Roberts, Sotomayor, Kagan, Barrett, and Jackson. Of course, Barrett, because she votes every time with the Democrats. Not every time, but way too often. Fully joined the majority opinion, finding it unconstitutional under the 14th Amendment. Kavanaugh concurred in the judgment, making 6 who voted to block the order, though he disagreed with parts of the reasoning. Thomas, Alito, and Gorsuch dissented. No kidding. So some outlets call it 5-4 on the constitutional holding because Kavanaugh didn't fully join the majority. But he did. But he didn't. But the practical outcome was 6-3. The person who said 5-4 wasn't entirely wrong, depending on how you look at it. Well, the way I look at it is this: if I am a terrorist, and I've got 10 women that I can get into the United States that are pregnant, then what I can do is I can have them have babies, and they now are U.S. citizens. Now we take them back to our terrorist country, and in our terrorist country, we indoctrinate them, treat them like they're special people in the communist, socialist, terrorist world. And then they send them back over to the U.S. to live and create havoc. And not 10, not 20, maybe 20 million eventually. I saw a funny meme yesterday. The Supreme Court justices decided that if a person is pregnant and has a baby at Olive Garden, they're Italian. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but that's what we're doing here. The whole idea was the indigenous people and the slaves that were in the United States, that there was a need to be able to make them citizens because they were going to be permanent, not temporary. And so that was the purpose then. Now, I could stand here and argue the other way. Law school will do that to you. You can study whatever you want to, and you can defend whatever side you want to. That's why prosecuting attorneys become defense attorneys. They can do that. Plus, they make a hell of a lot more money. But the point is that the argument to keep it the way it is, well, they're here, and the Constitution says so. It's right here in this Constitution, Article 14. But that's the story. And here's what I mean by this. The story is we're going to have to do something legislatively. How in the world is that ever going to get done? I don't care who's in office in the White House. I don't care who's got what majority. You're not going to get 2/3 of the House and the Senate, and I think it's the same 2/3 or 75% of the states to vote for an amendment. In this environment, there's no way in hell that's going to happen. Yeah, you couldn't do that on a bet. So how are they going to do it? Honestly, I don't know. I've heard people say, "Well, we're gonna do this. There's ways to do it," but nobody says, "And these are the ways." They don't do it, and they don't do it because nobody really knows how we're going to do it. Then there was the women's protection, which of course was the West Virginia and I can't remember what other state it was, but it was an issue about the Title X, Title IX, and it really was. This is the boys in locker rooms, boys in girls sports, boys involved with women in an athletic or in fairness in any activity that is competitive. There are men and there are women. I'm going to show you a video today with a podcaster that was talking to some that was saying that, well, so if a woman can't have a baby, then what are they? I mean, the absurdity that they take these things to is just fascinating and ridiculous and out of control. But what do you do? So the fascinating part of this, the three who dissented, this is about women having men in their sport playing against them where they are at a disadvantage. Look at Leah Thomas when she was swimming against Riley Gaines. He towered over her. He's massively strong. And, that affects these girls need scholarships and opportunities just like the men do. So you put a man in there and you've now shoved everybody down one step. And, you could say, well, but the schools are going to, no, the schools aren't. If it's a high school kid that beats a woman, that high school woman girl that lost, isn't going to have an advocate at the colleges because they're a bunch of liberal lunatics too. So they lose out on their opportunity. And that's what it's about. I've got a daughter. You don't ever have a time where it makes sense to have a disadvantage to anyone. It's called equality. I don't know where they lost track of that whole equality thing. So there were three that dissented. They disagreed with the majority on the constitutional equal protection question, arguing The court should have sent the case back for more fact-finding instead of broadly upholding the bans. They did agree with the conservatives that the bans don't violate Title IX. So, okay, get this. If you have a man in women's sports, you would think that women would support not having that happen, would say, no, 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 we can't have that. Who are the three that went against it? Sotomayor, Elaine Kagan, Kajati Brown, the one that doesn't know what a woman is. So the women, except for Barrett, which I'm surprised she didn't go with them again, they're all the ones that voted against the women here. This isn't about equality. If a guy comes into women's sports, it's not equal. It's just not. When I was a kid, we had girls that were, kind of, we used to call them tomboys, and they wanted to play baseball with us, or they wanted to, run with us, or whatever the case was. They couldn't do it. And they were the jocks. And when I say they couldn't do it, couldn't even come close. I mean, the fat, slow ones, they could keep up with them. But the point is they couldn't be competitive. They couldn't run a 9,900. And guess what? If for an example, me, there was no girl that was going to beat me in track in the 100-yard. It was yards back in those days. 100-yard. It just wasn't going to happen. So if I went into the girls' sports, that girl that would won a tournament or a state championship or whatever it might be doesn't win, and nobody cares about that? Well, first of all, I would be I would never do it, but it would be embarrassing to think, well, okay, I'm not good enough to do it as a guy, so I'm going to go into the girls' sport and I'll beat them, and then I can say I'm a winner. No, you're a loser. And you can say, well, they believe they identify as women. No, they don't. They don't. They do because they think it. Nobody's getting these people help. Everybody's afraid to get these people help. I made these notes because I had to have them in front of me. It just puts me in a crazy mood where we get ourselves pumped up and hoping that there's going to be some logic. I mean, even Trump said, hey, we're not going to win this birthright citizenship. He knew it. He knew it when they were sitting at the Supreme Court. What do you do? Anyway, we're 3 days away from a huge event in Washington, D.C., the 250 celebration, and all 50 states, I would like to think. But all the naysayer news story places, they're saying, oh, gee, hey, wait a minute. There's nobody there in Washington, D.C. Hey, you morons, it's the middle of the week and it's not the holiday yet. And if you look at it today compared to, let's just go back to last Saturday, and you look at the number of people that are there, it's growing big time. What it's going to look like on Saturday? Well, we'll see. But I think they're going to be surprised at how many people will attend. I just pray the security will be able to do something about it. So I got some great stories today, things that really tie everything together. This is the point here, the tying together point. I made the comment. I said, if you look look up hypocrisy, you're going to find that it just says Dems, because the Democrats are the predominant purveyor of hypocrisy. It's just insane. So hypocrisy, the Dems, the crazy things they're doing, the taxes that they want to raise, the people that are hurt with that, all these things. I'm going to tie this together for you today. And I've got a couple of great videos at the end I think you'll get a big kick out of. So stay with me. Watch what we're doing here because it'll be fun. So we got some stuff about Gorham, her daughter that was killed in Illinois. That was tragic yesterday, the way that went. The border issue, well, guess what? I got some history on that, and you'll find it fascinating. You might remember it if you're old enough. If you're not old enough, this is an awakening, I would say. Malat Kiros, she won in Colorado. A complete socialist, communist, lunatic, 27-year-old. Are you ready for this? Lawyer, now barista. That was actually said out loud by news people. She was a lawyer and she's now working as a barista. And she ran for office and beat Diana DeGette, who is, I think she's been in office like close to 30 years. And she got beat handily. A communist. And when you see her, she's going to scare you a little bit. Why elections matter, some tax problems for people to think about. History, I promise you every day there's history. Guess what? We're in the 1900s. I've got a little thing I want to catch up with on Washington that I totally forgot to mention in the 1700 year that I want to bring back. Not bring back, but go back to that for a minute and cover that. The straight, and then is Josh Shapiro the guiding light for the 28 election for the Democrats? We'll find out. Pregos and fun is at the end. So I was watching this yesterday on Fox News. They were having the hearing, which, by the way, everybody made a point of the fourth hearing about the border and the people that are being injured and killed by illegal aliens and all of this stuff. And yesterday was classic. And I want to get into this because it really sets the stage for what we're talking about and why you have to tell every friend you have, vote in November. We have to keep the House and the Senate. If these people get power, it's, well, you'll see what I mean here in a few minutes. So this first one was with Jim Jordan. This was after Tlaib said that this is the fourth time we've had these hearings. I don't know why we're doing these hearings. There's no need for this. Well, yeah, there is, because nobody seems to want to care. So watch Jim Jordan on this. We'll talk about it.
Mr. Chairman, we don't want to coerce anyone. We just want to stop the stupid policy of sanctuary jurisdiction that led to the tragedies that these families are going to testify and talk about today. The gentlelady from Washington, the ranking member, said this is the fourth hearing on sanctuary jurisdiction. I'll have 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll have whatever amount of hearings it takes to stop a policy that is so ridiculous. Because understand, never forget what sanctuary jurisdiction is in the simplest of terms. Politicians tell local law enforcement, like Sheriff Redmond, don't work with federal law enforcement in enforcing federal law. That is dumb. And it's not only dumb, it results in bad things happening to families. That's why we're having the fourth hearing. And like I said, we'll do whatever. And my guess is the chairman is willing to do whatever amount of hearings it takes to get our legislation across the finish line. Our Sanctuary Jurisdiction Shutdown Act of 2026.
Yes. And this is a big deal. Nobody's been talking about this. We're trying to shut down sanctuary cities. I find it fascinating that even Trump hasn't done what he supposedly can do, which is take federal funds away from them because they have a sanctuary city, because they're not following federal laws. They're not following federal guidelines. They're not assisting feds. In fact, they're going against the feds. The supreme layer are feds. And this sanctuary city, it's just stupid. When Colorado decided to be, well, first it was a sanctuary city, Denver. And then it became really a sanctuary state. Although I don't think we claim it. It's a sanctuary state. And so we have, like San Francisco, like LA, like New York, we've got tent city, we've got tents everywhere. We've got people. Nobody's controlling this because they're sanctuary. And so they can't do anything. So now Mike Johnston, who's the mayor of Denver, is spending billions of dollars taking care of these people and the homeless people. And he's literally letting people go in government, which I kind of support that part of it because they've got too many. But they're letting those people go. They're losing their jobs because it's a sanctuary city and all these people we're paying for. They've got hotels full of people that are illegals. Why are we doing this? And the answer is because they have some crazy, wild, weird idea of how things should work. So Andy Biggs has some comments in this hearing that I just had with Jim Jordan, talking about his meeting that he had in Arizona. And this is an eye-opener if you haven't seen this.
This isn't just the fourth hearing. We actually had a field hearing in Phoenix, Arizona on this, where we had angel families come in and testify. Do you know how many from Democrats came? Not one. Zero. No one came. They didn't care enough to come to that field hearing. What a shame. It's really, really too bad.
Yeah, it's really too bad. It's insulting. It's insulting. And this tells you everything you need to know. You know, the Democrats, look, when you get yourself, they always say, when you're in a hole, stop digging. The Democrats are in a hole. And there's two holes really, but they're merging. Hole number one are just the Democrat ideas of taxing, of, fighting ICE, all of those kind of things. And then you've got the communist group that's now becoming big enough that they have a voice. I told the story, I think it was Monday, about the fact that these women that became candidates, they got through the primary in New York, there'll be not many voices. They're freshmen. They won't have much power. Well, you've got three of them. You've got Kiros here, which is a complete communist. You've got other people around these states. All of a sudden, you're going to have a caucus within the Democrat Party. And you got to worry about that. We don't have to, but you should. If you have a brain and you haven't accidentally stepped on it, you might recognize the fact we might be losing grip. But I will tell you, I'll share this with you actually after this video. So this is really the best part of this. This is Mike Lawler in the hearing speaking with introduction of Gorham as the mother of the girl that was killed. And the Democrats cannot stand the fact that he's making any comments other than introduction. Watch this.
So while some of my colleagues may not want to hear the truth, the same outrage you feel about Renee Good and Alex Preddy, you should feel about Sheridan Gorman and Laken Riley and every angel family in this country.
I do feel that outrage.
You do not. Because if you did, you would not support sanctuary jurisdiction. Do you feel the outrage about Alex Preddy and Renee Good? You should be ashamed of yourself. You don't belong in this committee.
Jamie. You should get the hell out of here. You don't understand the rules of the committee. You don't understand the Constitution.
You're a disgrace.
Mr. Raskin,
you're an absolute disgrace supporting sanctuary policy.
Say one word about
Get rid of sanctuary policy. I did. I wrote a whole New York Times op-ed about it. You should be absolutely ashamed of yourself for not opposing sanctuary policies that resulted in their daughter's death.
The committee will be in order.
Mr. Chairman.
The committee will be in order. Oh, yeah. It's going to be in order, all right. Jamie Raskin, what a dipweed he is. This is a guy that literally says no to everything, is makes comments that everybody knows is BS, and he just says them like they're fact. It's like Adam Schiff. It's like Swalwell. It's like all of these crazies that are in the Democrat Party. That hole I was talking about, they're not the communist socialists, not at least not declared. And then you've got, of course, the communists, but Jamie Raskin, why would he even scream and yell about this? And Lawler is not going to let this happen. So he had to let him have it. And it's really fascinating that I mentioned to you the digging the hole part. It's fascinating. They don't understand that they've got to figure out a way to get out of this. I don't want to get them advice. They don't want advice from me anyway. But the point is that if you're running a campaign or you have a party, you're in a party that is almost no one trusts, believes in, or supports, and you keep doing crazy things, you're in trouble. Well, if you agree with Lawler regarding the illegals that have crossed the border and are killing Americans, then what have you got to say? If you agree with him, you have no platform because you've gone so far off to the complete other side of the world that there's no way you can come back. No way. And the idea that you would have somebody, hell, if you'd have somebody like Bill Clinton couldn't get elected today. Well, knowing he's Bill Clinton, he might have a chance. But if he would have come in as this Arkansas guy nobody knew about and ran for president today, I don't think he could get through the primaries because he's not whacked out enough. He was smart enough to say, we got to move to the middle when he was running for his second term. These people that are running for office today, they're going to be what they are now. They're going to be what they will be when they go for re-election. And they may get reelected because there's actually people that vote for these people. But they don't know what these lunatics are doing. So why all the screaming? Why the yelling? Why are these people so upset on the positive and negative side? Negative being we don't need these hearings. We don't want to have this going on. And the positives of we need to get to the bottom of this. Why are these people all screaming at each other? Well, the answer is when mom gets in front of this hearing. Watch this.
We shouldn't be screaming across the room. I mean, we also shouldn't say but. Because I have to just say, and I understand that you're here for a reason, I don't understand why it's only the Republican side that cares about our American children. And I know that you're a mother. I know that you're a father. I deeply value that. But basically what you just did, what you said was, I'm so sorry for your loss. I have a daughter too. I have a son. I feel your pain. You don't. You don't feel my pain. Because the next words out of your mouth were, but. There's no but. When your child is in a coffin, there's no but. And I need you to understand that. And if you ever want to talk about it, I'm here. I'm going to buy you a bench. You can put that on the record. I'm going to buy Congress a bench. And they can come and sit and hold my hand and look me in the eye and explain to me why illegal immigrants are more important than my daughter. I really want to know because I don't understand.
Boy, that's, first of all, that was a big dressing down of Democrats in this, her not understanding how it can be that only Republicans care. We know that's the case, but when it's said out loud by a mother that's lost her child and they don't do anything about it, they don't care anything about it, they just go on. How can you be that cold? You know, it's kind of like walking in on, somebody, you're at the grocery store and somebody dies, they're on the floor, they had a massive heart attack. And you walk past them, you go, well, things happen. And the family's outrageous about that. course they are. They lost a loved one on the floor in the grocery store. This is a mom that lost her daughter being shot for no reason at all. None. And the border, they want the border open. They want that border open because those are voters. That's the only, there's no other reason for that. The idea that, we're a free society. Everyone should be welcome. If you don't have borders, you don't have a country. You've heard that many times over many years. There's a reason there are borders. There's a reason that there's a square thing in the middle of a map called Colorado, and there's a line on that, and that's a border. And whatever side of that border you're on, you're under those rules. So if you happen to be way west of Colorado, it's Utah, and you've got to follow Utah laws. And Colorado has their own laws. They have their own laws that are crazy, but they have their own laws. The country's the same way. You can't just come in. And the ones that are coming in, some of them are good, but there's a lot that are not. So they don't want borders. Well, that's interesting because back in 2005, when Nancy Pelosi, you might remember her 21 years ago, saying this about borders. When you hear these people say we don't need borders, and I say hypocrisy, watch this.
Broken borders. That's an oxymoron, something we can't tolerate. Borders, of their nature, our definition as a nation and our protection as a country. Broken borders, they don't exist. We can't tolerate them. So let's say from the start that we all in this body, and I know I can speak very firmly for the Democrats, support strong border control. And it must be part, and the first part, of any comprehensive immigration reform.
I knew I didn't have time to do this because I don't have that much time for the show, but I was going to show you a video of her recently saying the exact opposite. The exact opposite. When have you ever heard Republicans say we should have open borders? Ever. Ever. I would say the closest to that would be George W. Bush and George H.W. Bush when they didn't do anything about borders, which didn't make me very happy. But they still believed we should have borders. And we weren't getting the flow of people coming in to this country that we did when Biden was in office, when he said, come on in, the door's open. Don't even bother taking your shoes off when you come in the house. That's Nancy Pelosi saying we have to have borders until we don't have them. And then there's another one, because hypocrisy, this is Dianne Feinstein, who is from San Francisco, had that district before San Francisco was so far left that you can't even travel by spaceship to get to it. And she was talking about borders and having to do something about it. Watch what she said.
Should you have a system where people can come to this country, even if they're well-to-do, get on Medicaid and give birth to a baby and then go back? The answer is no. And we know that Medicaid laws are being used and abused to do just this in the state of California. I'd like to see that stopped. About 13% of the California prison population, costing close to $300 million a year, are illegal aliens. I've had judges in Los Angeles and Orange County tell me 1/2 of their criminal dockets are illegal aliens. Presently, a convicted illegal alien has the option of serving their sentence in California or being returned to their country of origin. I think that option ought to be removed.
Wow. That's 1993, 33 years ago. Dianne Feinstein, birthright citizenship and border. And the problem that she was having with what was occurring in California with the prisoners, the percentage and the dollars that are being spent on illegals. Well, here's the tie-in of this that ties those two together. And why are they saying it then, what they said, and why did they say what they do now? This is the hypocrisy part. The hypocrisy is this. In 1993, the governor of California was Pete Wilson. Pete Wilson was what? A Republican. Not much of one, but he was a Republican. So they were going to speak against him. Guaranteed. Dianne Feinstein also went for open borders. Didn't support closing the borders. Later on, who was in office then? A Democrat. Nancy Pelosi. When did she do her speech in 2005? Who was the president? George W. Bush. They're not going to say it when there's a Democrat president or governor. It's what way is the wind blowing? That's the whole concept in a nutshell. They go based on who's in office, what works for us, what works when we say this, what works when we say that. I don't know what to tell you. You can't deny that. You can deny it, but it won't do you any good because the truth shall set you free. So all of this has to do with Democrats doing crazy stuff and the hypocrisy that they live with. But let's go one step further. This is about votes. This is about how in the world do these people get elected? How is it that these people win? Well, I've said it over and over again. When you have a press that supports all the Democrats all the time, when CNN, MS Now, all of these crazies, ABC, CBS, NBC, they spend 2 seconds on something that they don't want to tell you, but they have to put it up there. But they don't, if you don't happen to be paying attention for 2 seconds, you wouldn't know. The public doesn't know. You know, you ask a liberal, and they're probably going to tell you they don't. It's kind of like if you remember Rush Limbaugh, I certainly do. When you say to a person that hates Rush Limbaugh, you'd ask him, "So, have you ever listened to him?" No. Well, then why do you hate him? It's the same thing with this. You hate Trump, but you've never listened to the other side to find out what the story is. You know, it's over and over and over again. The things that Trump has succeeded with isn't getting told to the general public that's watching liberal TV or listening to podcasts that are liberal. That's the scary part, that the press has more control than you might think you do. So now we've got a person who just got elected last night in Colorado. Her name is Malat Quiros. She's 27 years old. She's, I think, from Egypt. She was born in a foreign country. She's maybe a U.S. citizen. I don't know. She's crazy. We deserve 9/11, basically. You know, Israel caused their own problem. That's why they got attacked on October 7th. She's, trying to save Palestine, which there isn't one, you moron. It's called Gaza. It's not Palestine. It's not recognized as Palestine, except for other liberal countries that want to do that. One of them is Macron from France. He calls it Palestine. Well, of course he does, because he's a wimp. You saw his wife beat him up getting off the plane. He has no background. We're not going to be able to stop this if it gets too big. We have to stop it. But before we can stop it, we have to recognize what it is. And what it is this video of the acceptance speech, or a piece of it, with Malat Kiros. Watch this, and I'll talk about it on the other side.
Denver voters of all ages, of all races, of all religions, clear message. We will.
Oh, no. Okay. I don't know what happened there. I didn't get any sound. This is her speaking at the acceptance speech. She's got, you can see the text there, will not wait, abolish ICE, pass Medicare for all. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that is, without a question, we've got to change the world. We've got to change the country. This person is scary to a level that can't even be described. And the reason that we have to worry about this is there's more and more people that are getting control. And that is what's scary.
How did these?
And that was supposed to be sound at the end of her sound. Sorry. She got elected. And I told Maria, I said to Maria last night, they vote. She was ahead by like 2 or 3 points. And it was at 65% of the, oops, that keeps playing. What the heck is going on? When I grow up, I'll figure out how to run this thing. And I said, look at this. It stopped at 65% of the completion of the vote count. I said, and again, 2 points. And it just sits there and sits there and sits there. Then it got up to like 70 points, sits there. I said, watch what happens. When all of the election is done, we're going to, all of a sudden, she's going to be crushing Diana DeGette, which isn't one of my favorite people either, but not compared to what she is, Kiros. But that's what happened. She ended up losing by 10 points to Malat Kiros. 10 points. And then she said, young people, old people, white people, black people, all races, they all voted for me. If you paid attention to that video that was there, it's all a bunch of young people look like they're at some flash party. They're all 20-year-olds. So what happens in the general election in November? I think we're going to find that it's going to be way closer than what it was this time, even though we in Colorado have almost no chance of beating a Democrat. It's as bad as California. It's as bad as New York. And I will point out that the district she won in is dark blue. I mean, darker than this shirt, dark blue, which, by the way, did anybody notice? I do my best. I don't think anybody noticed that I'm wearing my first shirt this week was red. My second shirt yesterday was white, and my shirt today is blue. I'm patriotic. Red, white, and blue, baby. I don't know if I'll wear red tomorrow, or what color should I wear? Some of you people in the chat, let me know. Do I want to wear red, white, or blue? Or I could wear black. But I don't think I want to wear black. Not going into this. Anyway, so we're going to be pushing along. We're going to get this person elected. That's what the Democrats are saying. And we'll have a little more power with the Communist Party. I'm tired of calling them socialists. They're not. They're communists. They want communism. And in a way, they're not communists because communists allow to have capitalism. Look at China. It's a communist country. Nobody's generating more money in business than China. So what'll happen next? We'll find out. But there's something that ties to this. Do you remember or do you understand that the people that are Democrats always want to raise your taxes. And when a Republican comes in, they always want to raise your taxes. Now, below that little list that I gave you, when the Democrats raise taxes, the economy goes in the tank. Jimmy Carter, Joe Biden for sure, and other election people from back many, many years ago. They always have to make it a political, taxing, crushing economy scenario. And then you get a Trump or you get a Reagan. They lower taxes and all of a sudden there's massive revenue. And why does that happen? Because taxes thwart success. It stops people from getting hired. It stops businesses from succeeding. It even stops business from starting. If you don't have a started business, even if you hire 2 people, that's 2 people that have a job that don't have to be flipping burgers at Burger King. So this guy is, his name is Konstantin Kisrin. He's a non-binary, but he's an economist. And he understands this about taxes. Watch this.
This is something that is like economics 101. You get taught it on day 1 at economics A level, and then everyone forgets it. Taxes, generally speaking, for most things, are a way to reduce the amount of that thing. So, for example, we put a tax on cigarettes to get people to smoke less. We put a tax on alcohol to get people to drink less. We put a tax on fuel because we want people to drive less and take the bus or take the train or take public services. We put taxes on things that we want to reduce the amount of. So what happens when you tax employing people? What happens when you tax small business? What happens when you tax the people who create the jobs?
What a great question. And the answer is, when you raise taxes on business, what happens to them? I talked about this yesterday. When these big oil companies, for example, when they make a huge profit, they take and they return that into research and development to be able to create more business, to be able to get more fuel and more security for our country. Now, all that money that you invested is deductible. So when the Democrats say they're not paying any taxes, well, they've spent all that money increasing their research, increasing their development to be able to grow. The greatest research and development on the planet that ever occurred for the pharmaceutical industry was creating COVID. China, they made billions of dollars on the entire process of getting COVID out there and the vaccine. And they made a lot of money. Now, if you're going to get taxed to the hilt, you're going to look at that and you're going to go, okay, we can't spend a lot of this income because we're going to have to pay taxes. And they look at that and how's that going to spin out to the end of the year for us to report our taxes. And we can't spend 90% of our income on research and development to grow because we got to pay 40% in taxes. That's where the problem is. So I'm doing history this week about America, and I'm running out of time. This hour is going really fast today. This is about who were presidents, first of all. In 1990s, it was McKinley, Roosevelt, Taft, Wilson, Harding, Coolidge, Hoover, FDR, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, LBJ, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush Sr., Bill Clinton. Now, that's just the 1900s. Then you ask which one I want to know about, which I didn't need to know about him. But here's the point. First of all, the presidents were assassinated. It was in the 1900s. It was William McKinley in 1901. 62 years later, John F. Kennedy. If you go back before McKinley and look at how many years back it was It's a lot of years before Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. Now, McKinley, of course, we know John Kennedy was killed. Well, we think that Oswald killed Kennedy. We'll never know the truth. And then we have the death of McKinley. Who killed McKinley? That's the real question. It's easy to know who killed Kennedy. We don't have to go through that one. But with McKinley, it's interesting. September 6, 1901, President McKinley was at a Pan American Exposition in Buffalo, as in New York, shaking hands in a receiving line at the Temple of Music. A 28-year-old anarchist named Leon Zargas, who had hidden a .32 revolver under a handkerchief wrapped around his hand, stepped up, pushed McKinley's hand aside, and shot him twice in the abdomen. At that point, at blank point range, a bullet bounced off a button on one of them, but the other tore through his stomach and other organs. To make it short, he died. Some expert came in, by the way, I watched a story on this. Some guy came in trying to get the bullet out and literally caused gangrene, and it killed him. Sadly, this was back in the day when those things could happen. Why did he assassinate McKinley? You'll love this. He assassinated McKinley. He was an anarchist. He believed that McKinley represented a government that oppressed the working class. Gee, have we ever heard that? He was inspired by Emma Goldman's writings on anarchism, writings as in now TikTok and YouTube and all the other stuff, and wanted to spark a revolution against leaders of big business and government. He was executed for the crime, as he should have been. This is how we end up here. This is what is making America crazy. So what were the inventions that happened in the 1900s? These are huge. The inventions, the Wright brothers in 1903, Model T Ford, 1908. That's an economy explosion still to this day. Penicillin, thank God for that, 1928. The transistor in 1947. I had a transistor radio that was a little itty bitty radio run on batteries that I used to listen to the World Series, because they used to be on during the day, when I was in school, because I was such a good student. The Internet's foundation, ARPANET, which was in the late 60s. Gee, I thought Al Gore created that. Darn. Electronic TV, 1927. Philo Farnsworth, got a story on that. And the affordable microwave hits kitchens in the 60s. The Amana, 1967. That was the first. It was called a radar range at that time. Now, I've got some history with this, and I just got to share this. And I'm going to run out of time here and won't be able to show you some other stuff. But I want to share this because these are things that are important. First of all, my grandfather, who was born in the 1890s, who came to the United States from Germany, I won't explain that to you. You'll be able to figure that out. When he was a kid, he was thrown off his horse going to school because a car was coming over the hill, and his horse and he had never seen a car. Think about that. And he lived until 1988, 89. He was almost 100 years old. But the history he saw was unbelievable. The other one was Philo Farnsworth. Now, my dad worked with Philo Farnsworth. Philo Farnsworth invented television. Philo was my babysitter when my parents went dancing. They were good friends. They worked together. When they went dancing every Friday night at the Fort Wayne Coliseum, the Memorial Coliseum, huge place where the IHL hockey played. And they had the big dance every Friday night. That's back when that was a big deal. Philo was a lost genius. He was the absent-minded professor personified. It was an honor to know him. I wasn't very old before he died, but he was one of those guys. He literally would get done with work, take the bus home, then he'd call. My dad would answer the phone, say, "Hey, Wayne, is my car in the parking lot?" Yeah. He took the bus home because he forgot he drove. He would come to work, and he had parked the car, come in, and then somebody would find that his car was still running. He forgot to turn it off. But he invented television. He created the camera that was the camera that we watched the landing on the moon in 1969. My dad and he built that camera, designed the build, and put that all together. My dad was smart. I don't know what happened to me. But he was brilliant, and so was Philo Farnsworth. Philo was a challenged human being. And there's many people that nobody know about. A guy named Scott Nevin that invented night vision that worked next to my dad. These guys worked for NASA with IT&T. It's a fascinating story of so many things that most people don't even know about. But I wanted you to see that and hear that. So I've got two things I want to show you before the end of the show, because these deserve to be played to be a little lighter. So this first one is talking to a person that is insisting on understanding how a woman can be a woman if she can't have a baby, and how men can have babies. Watch.
Lots of women can't get pregnant either.
Yeah, but they're still of the nature to get pregnant.
Truth matters, right?
It does. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
Truth matters, and they can't get pregnant. That's the truth. So how are they still women?
For the same reason that I can rightly say that human beings have two legs. A person being born with one leg doesn't mean that now legs are on a spectrum, and we can't say anything at all about how many legs a person has. Who knows? They could be a centipede. You know, they could have 100 legs. No, we know human beings have two legs. If a human is born without two legs, something went wrong. By their nature, they're supposed to have two legs. Same thing for a woman. A woman by her nature can get pregnant. A man by his nature never can. So if you meet a woman of childbearing age, say she's 28 years old, and she can't get pregnant, you know automatically that something has gone wrong. And she can go to the doctor and find out what that thing is, even if they can't fix it. That proves that women by their nature can get pregnant, because the simple fact that she can't shows you that there's something wrong. This is what is known as the exception that proves the rule. Whereas if a male with a penis can't get pregnant, no doctor on earth is going to run tests to see what's wrong with him. Because they already know it's that he's a male, and there's only male and female, those who can get pregnant and those who can't.
That's so perfect. I had to show that because there's the whatever that was, that said that, stood there and like, how do I argue this point? And of course, the answer is you can't. You can't answer that. You can't argue that because it doesn't make sense. Final thing before I go. You know, everybody hates Trump on the Democrat Party. Some Republicans hate Trump because he's audacious, he's loud. They wish he wouldn't say what he'd say. There's times I wish he wouldn't say what he'd say. There's times I shouldn't say what I say. We're all that way. He's just better at it. But you know, they're afraid that he's going to put his face up on Mount Rushmore. So somebody did a great video that you got to see. This is hilarious.
Folks, take a look at this. Nobody's ever seen a monument like this, believe me. Look at Marco, so comfortable. That's a man praying I don't call him with another assignment. That hug, very romantic. They did that in front of everybody. Everybody! What is that, Bill and Monica up there? And Fat JD. Fat JD's got the incredible hair now, carved forever. Now we just got to get him on the Ozempic. Believe me, we're working on it. Now this button, big button, very special button. The best button, believe me. And there she is, folks. Sophie Cunningham. What a gorgeous woman. A total beauty. They don't make them like that anymore, believe me. And not woke, folks. A beautiful young lady and not woke. That's how we like them. Greatest point anybody has ever pointed. In the history of pointing. Better than Lincoln, believe me. So today we induct Sophie Cunningham into the Mount Rushmore of memes, the greatest honor there is. Nobody deserves it more. God bless Sophie, and God bless America!
I love it. Whoever put that together, it's truly classic. Oh, wait a minute. I just saw, watching from England, watching the FIFA World Cup, Kyler West, 37. Thank you. Let's see, what time is it? Noon. It's 7:00 at night, I think. Is that right, Kyler? You can respond if you get a chance. I didn't get a response, by the way. So I did red, white, and blue shirts for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Thursday, do I wear a red shirt or do I wear a white shirt or I do a blue shirt? Friday is a special day that I've got for that. If you have a comment on that, tell me. Otherwise, I'm going to have to ask my dog, and my dog will pick it out. I'll probably lay him out on the floor and then, just allow the dog to lay down on one of them, and that's the one I'll wear. I don't know. Maybe that'll work out. Hey, thanks for being here today. Wow. Did this go fast, or is my imagination really fast today? Listen, tell your friends to vote. Get your friends educated. Discuss it with them. Be kind. When they get mad at you, say, don't get mad at me. Just watch the other side. At least be informed. Watch CNN and watch MS Now yourself before you even talk to them, and watch the drivel that they're speaking, so that when they start arguing and doing their talking points, say, that's what you're hearing from these guys. Watch the other side a little bit, and then do a little research. Grok it. Chat GPT. Ask a question. Go to Google. We gotta win in 26. We have to. Hey, thanks for being here. I will see you tomorrow, 1:00 Eastern Time. Until then, have an awesome day and rock on.
Thanks for your support. Join the FramersView Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for your support. Join the FramersView Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern.